I've been wanting to design a cool looking cube PC case that was easy to build. The great thing about this case is that it only needs a 175mm bed, so all the bamboo minis out there are probably pretty happy. And you can fit up to a 310mm GPU, a 205mm CPU fan, or you can just go for an AIO like I did. This case fits up to 5 120mm fans, and you choose if you want them RGB or not. And lastly, it fits an SFX PSU. Also, it fits microATX and mini ATX motherboards. I actually got the inspiration for this PC case when the last PC case I printed took so long to print that in the meantime I just designed this case. But then when my last PC case almost finished printing, I realized that I completely messed up the measurements and the quality of the printed parts was also completely trash. So here I am showcasing this PC case. Anyway, I didn't even mention what I named the PC case. Lil Cubi. Is that a good name? Well, I don't know. But anyways, let's get to assembling it. But wait, before we assemble it, we need to have all the tools and materials. So, for the tools you need a soldering iron, a screwdriver, a hot glue gun, a utility knife, and lastly, a drill. Alrighty, so for the materials, you will roughly need about 3 to 5 kilos of any color filament. I chose black, but feel free to choose any color you'd like to. A pack of M3 heated inserts, a pack of M3 screws, and just a pack of PC screws. You will need 3 plexiglass sheets that are 336mm by 336mm, and I recommend at least a 4mm thickness. And lastly, a 16mm button. Also, you can find the printing files in the description. That's all. Now we can assemble it. First, you want to take one down part, your soldering iron, some M3 heated inserts. On this part, there's 2 holes which we need to insert the heated inserts into. I personally have like a fancy M3 heated insert tip. But before this, I just used the usual soldering tip, so we don't really need this. But it is really nice. And for the temperature, just use the temperature you printed your parts at. These are PTG, so that's like around 240 degrees Celsius. Now for 2 down part, there's only 1 hole right here. And well, there's no need for no inserts for 3 down part. And lastly, for the 4 down part, there's 4 holes which need to be inserted into. After that, line up 4 and 1 down part. Then take 1, 2, 3, 4 connector and just easily slide it through. Now slide in 3 and 2 down part. Afterwards, take 4 pieces of rail connector and attach all of them to their designated places. Also, if you're having trouble inserting them, the hammer trick works pretty well. Great, now that that's done, let's assemble the next parts. Grab 5 motherboard pieces, and there's 2 holes for some heat inserts. Do the same with 6 motherboard pieces. 7 motherboard piece only has 1 hole on top, and there's also 1 on the side. And lastly, 8 motherboard piece, which also has 1 hole on top and on the side. And I know, super creative naming, right? Next, take 6 motherboard piece and effortlessly slide it in. Then do the same with 5, aka 5 motherboard piece. Now let's rotate the whole thing. Following that, insert motherboard piece attacher. Now take 7 and 8 and just insert them in. Thereafter, take 4 little connectors and attach them to their slots. At this stage now, I would recommend mounting a SATA SSD if you have one. You can still mount it later, but it will be a bit harder. I'll also take out my PC screw set and screw in the SSD. Now take 9 back part and do the usual heat insertion. Next 10 back part and there's place for 2 inserts. Then 11 back part, there's 3 holes. And lastly 12 back part. Like the part before, there's 3 holes. Alrighty, let's assemble. Slide in number 9 and 10. After that, rotate the PC case so that you can see the middle right here. Add in the back connector. Before we assemble 11 back part onto it, we have to take the 16mm button and install it into the part. It's super easy. You just take the nut off first, then just get it through, And now just screw it in. Add 11 and 12 in. This part now. Now for this part, we'll have to add 4 little connectors. It's going to be a little bit harder, but it's still very doable. Let's move the case and whip out 13 front panel. We're going to need M3 screws for this, because as you can guess, we're going to be screwing in stuff. You can use any length of the screws you want, as long as it fits, obviously. I'm just going to tell you my screw length recommendations, but feel free to use any screw length that works. But before we're going to go crazy with the screwdriver, we have to do some insert stuff. Take 13 front panel and there's one hole. For 14 front panel, it's the same thing. And also it's the exact same thing for 15. I have no idea where the footage for 16 front panel went, but you need to insert one insert on top and 2 inserts on the other side. Now grab this little part called 17 front panel connector and insert into all of the 4 holes. Now for the assembly, we'll use M3 screws, but there's a very important step to keep in mind. Because of how it's designed, you need to fully screw in at least 1 nut before screwing in the screw. That's out the way. Let's screw. First take 13 front panel and there's 3 screws that need to be screwed in. And remember to add nuts. Then also I recommend 8mm screws for this. Then just screw it in. Next 15 front panel. This one also needs 3 screws. After that comes 14 front panel and it only needs 2 screws. Before we assemble 16 front panel, we have to grab 17 front panel connector and screw it in. We'll also use the same trick with nuts as before. For this I would recommend like a 10mm screw. This does a brush. Now comes the 16 front panel. Right now we can rotate the PC case to the side. Take 18 motherboard I/O port and your SFX power supply. As you can see, there's 4 holes for screwing the power supply in, and we'll screw it in from this side. Also, it doesn't really matter what direction you put it in. I would recommend 8mm screws, but I'll also show you a cool trick of what to do if you don't have the perfect length for a screw. Just take a longer screw and add double nuts you normally would. It's that simple really. Something kinda like this. Now just screw in. Now that the PSU is mounted onto the part, let's slide it through really nicely. And there's 3 screws which need to be screwed in. Next part is going to be taking 19 motherboard I/O port and screwing it in with 2 screws. We can start assembling even more PC parts onto the case. We can start with adding in the main front fans. The cable management might be a little bit tricky, but you can just take this fan's cable onto the back. You can also place the cables underneath the fans. That shouldn't be any problem. And for this fan's cable, we'll use the same trick, where we'll get the cable placed behind the motherboard. I think some cable management would be real nice. And I leave the cable management up to you, because there is no universal way to cable manage, and well, everybody has different setups. After doing that, we'll screw in the motherboard standoffs. Those can be found in the PC screw pack, and they look like this. Now, just add in all of those 6 standoffs. Now, we'll have to move the PC case away and take your motherboard. And well, as you know, first goes the CPU. And the last thing, the CPU cooler. I went with an AIO, but you could just go for a normal cooler. This is really unexpected. When buying the parts, I expected everything to fit, but I bought a cooler that doesn't fit. So my last option is to, well, 3D print the mounts. Alrighty, now after 3D printing brackets, I hope everything's gonna fit now. But before getting it on, let's apply some thermal paste. Alrighty, getting the cooler on took a little bit of work, now it's done. And let's get the motherboard onto the case. And like with any other PC build, let's screw in the motherboard. After that, we have to not forget about the I/O shield. Mine is 3D printed, because when I bought the motherboard used, they didn't include the I/O shield. And also, if the I/O shield is too far away from the part, you can just push it in like this. Alright. First, take 21 motherboard I/O port, and there's 2 heat inserts in it. Perfect! Now we need 2 more inserts right here. So we also need 1 insert right here. And it's not like I just completely forgot. What? No. Also now, at this stage, I would recommend you to do some cable management because it's going to be easier now than after assembling the motherboard I/O ports. So connect the motherboard up and stuff. You can route the cables through these specially designed holes. I have a slight problem. I thought when designing this I had like fixed all the issues and stuff. But turns out I'm a dumbass, and well, the SFX motherboard cable is too short. Alrighty, now I've redesigned and it's better than ever. Now there should be no problems with any cables. This is starting to look more and more like a PC. Now take 20 motherboard I/O port and screw it in. Now comes 21 motherboard I/O port. We'll also have to take 3 little connectors. It comes in like this, and then just insert them while holding the big one. We can finally install the AIO, if you have one of course. If not, just use a normal fan. Also, before we close up the back, let's cable manage this fan. Time for the top part. Take 22 top motherboard piece and screw it in with 2 screws. Next comes 23 top motherboard piece and it also needs 2 screws. Great, now come 2 little connectors. Right now you can grab your soldering iron and well, just 2 holes for heat inserts. We're getting closer and closer to the end. We need 24 and 25 long thing. Doesn't say the number on them because well, I kind of forgot to add that. But it's real simple what you need to do. We'll have to align and connect both of these with a little connector. And the other side. Right now, take your soldering iron again and there's only 2 holes which are well for the inserts. Now we have to screw it in onto the case with 4 screws. Before screwing in the long thing, I kinda realized that this front part is kinda wobbly. So to counteract that, I designed these front panel connectors. In order to install them, you'll have to first remove the fan screws and then screw it in. And do the exact same for the top. Now we can finally screw in this long part. And make sure while screwing it in that the insert is on the right side and there's nothing on the left side. This part is going to be a little bit tricky, but still very doable. My GPU only has 2 holes for screwing it in, so I'll prepare 2 inserts. I would also recommend a pair of tweezers. I'm going to be inserting to this and this hole. Grab one insert with your tweezers, then align the heat insert with the hole. Then just use your soldering iron to heat it up and push it through. And do the same for the next one. Finally, the exciting part. Here comes the big boy, aka the GPU. Great, we can screw in the GPU now with the newly inserted inserts. And the last thing I have to do with the GPU, plugging it in. Now that this is done, we're going to be doing the plexi part. Take 8 of plexi plug A and grab 8mm or shorter screws. You should also use a nut trick for this. Next, take plexi plug A, then insert a screw through it and now screw it in while holding it. And do the exact same for the rest 3 screws here and the rest 4 screws on the top. After doing that, take 8 of plexi plug B. Then for each and every one, insert an insert on the top as you can see right here.
A few minutes later.
After inserting, take your hot glue gun, then just add in a little bit of hot glue. After that, quickly insert plexi plug B. And then do that for all the other 7 ones. Now for the part which will make everything even cooler, the plexiglass. So I personally had these 3 pieces pre-cut, and as I said before, the dimensions for cutting them are 336mm by 336mm and the thickness is 4mm. And if you don't buy them pre-cut, you can just buy one big piece or 3 smaller ones and then just cut them up to the right size. And there's a lot of different cutting techniques, so I'm not going to get too deep into that. Anyway, now we'll have to drill some holes. For the holes, we'll do like a 8 by 8mm difference on all 4 corners. And we'll drill 3.5mm holes. What I recommend to do is to make for each hole like a square of tape, then put that on, take a ruler, measure 8mm, 8mm here and 8 right here. So we're basically going to drill out here and mark the over 3 corners the same way. Take your bit, take your drill, and I recommend starting with like a smaller bit, like 1 or 2 millimeters, and then going up to 3.5 millimeters, and maybe even some drill bits in between. Now we have all 3 plexi sheets and we should assemble it onto the case. But with what? Grab 12 pieces of plexi plug C and 12 8 to 12 millimeter screws. And I'm saying that just in case you don't have enough screws. Then take your plexiglass and take off the fin on both sides. This sure made it look a lot cleaner. Grab a plexi plug C and insert the screw into it. Now we can place the plexiglass on top and you can start screwing it in. When it sits well, just do the same with the over 3 corners. Amazing, now we can do the exact same with the 2 over plexiglass. And now comes the last panel. Take a look at this. Now comes the last and final part. It's taking 12 pieces of plexi plug D. The way you do this is just add a little hot glue and attach plexi plug D. My tip is you can tap them at it with a hammer and do the exact same thing for the 11 ones that are left. And now come plug it in the power cord and over necessities, and voila, you have a cool looking PC case, aka a Lil QB. This looks real nice. I'm really happy with this PC case considering it's my first design, and that's if you don't count the failed design. But yeah, I hope you had a lot of fun watching the video. Well, because I did learn a ton from designing this case and what to do and what not to do for the next one. As I said before, this is my first design, so I really want just as much feedback as possible. If you drop a bad comment, a good one or amazing, I don't care. I just want as much feedback so that I can improve even more on the next design.